Heidi howdy hody, this is Jail for another Weekly Shonen Nonsense for October 1st, 2023. Got actually not a lot of comics this week, but yeah, still, enough is enough. Time for comics. Two on Ice, Chapter 2. The illustrious second chapter, and it's okay. So we get Hayama transferring into the middle school. We see him going to morning practice for the first time, seeing what techniques being in a duet for figure skating is like, getting practice for it, showing that he kind of sucks. And we get a really quick montage of them getting used to each other, getting more in sync because he's so used to watching her already. And we get to a moment where they're like, oh, there's a pageant coming up, and it's only in a month, and we don't really have time for routine. You know, Hayama chimes up going, hey, but we can totally get the we can totally just use one of your old routines and just do that and just find music for that again. So, they get creeped out, but it's like, yeah, that's a plan, and that's where the chapter ends. When I say it's okay, this is a decent second chapter. You get a color cover out of it, but it's also kind of showing its where this needs to prove itself a little bit better, because what this is primarily feeling like it's doing is aping off of Blue Box here. It's generally the same premise, girl meets guy, guy being an inexperienced but youthful young man, where girl is a slightly older, slightly more experienced, but somewhat more tolerant of the love interest's eccentricities, and it doesn't feel as earned as Blue Box is. And I mean, there's also a little more childish, where we have Hayama's entire stalker personality, stalker idea, being kind of couched in his obsession with her as a performer and his own want to see what she sees, like come from her perspective. And that's an admirable one, though a little creepy. If in a darker turn, it would be a lot dirtier of a series, but it's trying to the romance angle, and she's kind of into it. It seems like Kisara seems like she's wanting to be with him too, in a goofy manner, but it's not as overt. Taiki really likes Shinatsu a lot in Blue Box, and it's not at all hinted at that he's doing this for any internal reason, oh, I'm gonna be like her. It's more like he wants to be with her because he admires her so much, and there is that idea that he does have an ulterior motive in that regard, and the series knows this. But in this one, we have more of a just childish obsession, which is okay. It's definitely going to need to prove itself a bit more for a second chapter to this. It's definitely looking okay, not great, not amazing, decent. So I'm just curb my enthusiasm a little bit on this one. But if it does survive long enough, it does get enough of a foothold, even with Blue Box sitting here showing dominance. Who's going to be animating this. From the creators of Yuri on Ice comes Two on Ice. Kagurabachi, Chapter 3. And the third chapter comes with, it's another alright one. This one's more of a build-up, to be honest. We get more of the world. We kind of see what Tokyo's experience is like with Cafe Haru Haru and its bartender Hinao, showing that she owns the bar but uses as a middleman for bodyguards and possible assassins or other sorcerers who want to use their magic for one reason or the other. Of course, Shiba had come to her 3 years before with Chiharu in tow immediately after his father's death, and they ask her for information about Hishaku, which she does not get for 3 years until a little girl comes into her shop. Once invited over, they find out that she might have seen one of the swords that was stolen by the Hishaku from Chiharu's house. Now, of course, no one believes her, and Chiharu takes her out to eat. showing he's not a bad guy, kind of the best dad, to be honest, because, he had a baby his own father. And, Char, the little girl, you know, gives him a little bit more information, kind of hinting that, yeah, it probably was one of the swords because of the magic it gave out. But before she can really dive into more of the information, a new assassin shows up, a strange man with giant earrings who apparently is a sorcerer who uses Dharma bombs. And of course, the chapter ends with him taking Char hostage, and or just trying to kidnap her, and Chiharu about to take on battle. It's okay. This is definitely leading to a big fight. This is an interesting take. Being a very young series, it has a lot to prove to stay alive in the Shonen Jump ranks. It's been okay so far. The first chapter is pretty intense with its violence and artwork, and since it's slowly building up to the next big, big moment here, though it did have a really cool moment in the second chapter there, kind of glossed over, but otherwise it's okay. I do kind of love the fact that the last few weeks there's been a lot of hype for the series, because of how ridiculous that first picture was, and since they've sort of leaned into that, the creator commented on it, so it's fine. I really do want this to continue on. I want to see this succeed because there are other Shonen Jump series that are ending soonish, getting into their latter years, and we want these newer series to try to bolster up the magazine. Wanted to get further in, but at the moment the series doesn't really have much of a leg to stand on because it's just basically another guy with katana series, much like Demon Slayer or Bleach before that. And there's not a lot of things that you can explore with that haven't already done multiple times over. So we hopefully can get something interesting out of this. Otherwise, I hopefully once the actual hype dies down, this will still wow people and still maintain a level of high quality writing and art. The art's great, and next chapter does promise some neat sword fighting, a little bit more nuanced because there's a single opponent rather than a crowd that has to be kind of lobbed off real quickly. Mama Yu Yu, Chapter 4. Riding that train, high on cocaine. Not really. Corleo and Pinello go on their little journey to the center of their cross-shaped continent to go visit the hero they had captured by the central government. Now, while on the train, there's a bit of a heart-to-heart between Pinello and Corleo, but before the actual train gets stopped because it runs out of fuel, somehow running out of coal. So, using this as an opportunity, they both decide to have a bit of a training session on top of the train, where Corleo must hit or cause Pinello to use his right arm. Of course, this shows the current status of Corleo being weak as all hell, and, he needing to advance himself, though he shows he can use the little magic sigil on his arm to speed up, essentially. And though he doesn't actually land a hit, he does make Pinello use his right arm, which then leads to the end of the chapter, which is a bit of a swing to the other direction, where we meet the protagonist, and the new isekai protag is, oh no, a girl! She's a heroine! And apparently our boy, being a sheltered little twerp, has absolutely zero interactions with women, and freezes up. Cool. Funny. Overall, it's good. I mean, it has a lot of character development. We're getting a lot more of Pinello, who's a fun little mentor character, though a little toxic there, saying men have to be strong. That's not going to bite you in the ass later. But then we get a switch up there at the very end where we reveal, hey, there's a female character being introduced now. That's going to be fun. Overall, it's an all right chapter. I can't hate it. I mean, it did have a train in it, and trains are cool. Icehead Gil, Chapter 14. Finally, Icehead mode. So yeah, we get the fight between Gil and Gamajin here. we see them fighting. We of course we get the new power, which shows up as water. He's able to manipulate water. But why is he ice? Well, you see, it's so cold out that it's instantly freezing. So while his powers are really strong, the world makes it so his powers aren't really as effective as they could be. So unfortunately, Gil gets rocked pretty hard in the beginning, having his axe get broken fairly early on, and he barely survives the onslaught from the whip. Meanwhile, we see the heart tree being defended by Greatus and the Sliz, which apparently is very tiny and with really big fruit. So it's cute, but Greatus is basically holding that off against giant liches. And then meanwhile, we see that Idun is dead, but a fruit sprouts out of her charred corpse. And then the supposed daughter of Idun walks over to Sana, who is unconscious, and gives Sana the final fruit of Idun, making Sana the new Book of Wisdom and all the memories of Idun. Sana then aids Gil by directing Gil towards a nearby spring, leading Gamajin over, and then using one big blast of power, instantly freezes everybody around the spring, including all the liches, with a wicked, sick ice dragon. And the chapter ends with Gamajin kind of commenting, "Wow, this kid's power is terrifying." This feels like it's about to end. Like, this is not very entertaining, to be honest. It's really chaotic. Yeah, the fight's only really on two fronts, but we get constant cutaways to various other moments, especially the whole Sana bit, which doesn't really make any sense. Like, if this was a longer series, we'd probably get more about Idun so that her death mattered, but in this, Idun just kind of dies, and Sana gets the Book of Wisdom really early for no particular reason, because the series even points that out, where the supposed daughter of Idun, or child of Idun here, goes, it should be me, but I'm giving it to you, Sana, the person I've literally just met 2 minutes ago. There's no reason Sana got this. Sana died, I guess, and to revive Sana, she gives the fruit to Sana as opposed to herself, which, I mean, okay, maybe it's because Sana's older, but even then, like, why not give it to, like, the person who's cut in half? Because she was a competent person as well, could have maybe lived, didn't have to die necessarily, but, she's dead and Sana lives, and is now the new Book of Wisdom, which, I mean, we really don't know much about that. Like, we're not really given much information. And we even get Gil's big, new ice powers, water powers. We see his axe, the axe on the cover, break. So does that mean we're going to get a new axe? Or does that mean that the axe is symbolic of Gil, like, moving on and being better at axes in other ways, and possible the series ending? It's sort of rushed is what I feel like, as well as it feels a little less coherent. So I'm fearing for its loss. It's not the first ice series I've covered on the series, like Snowman with magical powers. This is also a semi-snowy man with magical powers. So, I worry. I worry. Martial Master Asumi, Chapter 15. Man, that boy Kinojo, he's a real Yankee. Yeah, so we get the beginning of the semifinals. The new opponent is Kinojo, a self-taught martial artist who literally just street fought until he, got so good at it that he's trying to go professional. And which throws Nito for a big loop. He's expecting these well-trained, honed artists. Meanwhile, this guy comes running in with a rider kick and a rider, chop. The guy is like both serious and not serious at the same time, which is refreshing. Of course, this throws Nito off enough, but not enough for him to not at least, pull his own techniques in, where he gets in real close and does a flying armbar. Now, if the match hadn't ended when it did, we would probably see Kinojo with a broken arm. But, surprisingly enough, the round ended before, that would happen. Because apparently Kanojo was not going to back down at all. So round 1 ends pretty, remarkably here. And round 2 begins next chapter. Not really much to say. It's just really good action here. And I'm really glad we see characters like Kanojo coming in, breaking up the monotony, showing the tournament having more than just MMA dudes who are like, MMA dude bros, but in this case, an actual punk who's, able to throw hands well enough to, make his way through this, even though he's literally just kind of playing around, essentially, using what he knows. It's sort of like Luffy, but not really Luffy. We don't really know if he has like any big dreams or aspirations. We just know he learned how to fight the old-fashioned way by going out and, kicking somebody's ass. Nue's Exorcist, Chapter 20. Huh, that's weird. Seems Elden Ring booted up on my computer, and it's in black and white. So this is a bit of a strange one here, but it's an explanation of what happened last chapter. Apparently, last chapter, a Rengo Shikigami was summoned. Now, a Rengo Shikigami is the most powerful of all of them, and is mostly never summoned, because the power comes at a cost. You have to, sacrifice something to even summon one of them. So even if you got one, summoning it is not the thing you'd probably want to do, because you'd probably kill yourself and multiple others just to do so. However, that was the past. Nowadays, we have tools to mimic the summoning process, and of course, Moro had one and summoned the Elden Beast. And the Elden Beast is no joke, not just by the fact that summoning it caused Nue's weapon to shatter, but also just the environment around it is starting to erode and evaporate, causing problems for the school and Gakuro and the others. So Nue, or at least Nue's clone, jumps in to shield them even a little bit longer, but persistence is the king here, and eventually the clone shatters. While Gakuro and Shiroha are shielded by the last spell the clone had, immediately out of the ether, the real Nue, or at least I assume the real Nue, shows up, releases her own weapon, the Star Slave, and destroys the Shikigami, ending the chapter, which is insane and just positively bonkers, mostly because Nue doesn't speak Japanese, or at least English if we're going by the translations language. Rather, she's just straight up Chinese. Don't know why, but it's probably because she's actually a Chinese spirit. Don't really know the full thing of Nue. Nue is actually a really detailed yokai that is multiple forms and multiple versions of. But this, whoo boy, that is intense. Just cleaves the Elden Beast in half in one big swing. Now, I don't think that's the end of this arc. We're probably not done with Moro. While his weapon did shatter, we're probably going to see him either joining the school or possibly going off and getting himself killed or dying for the cause. He seems like a good enough guy to do that for us. So, again, pretty fun. It's definitely showing Nue as a really strong character. Really also bolstering up Gakuro for aiding her as he did, because that was his weapon that was shattered by the Elden Beast being summoned. It shattered, but Nue's clone was okay by that point. So still, pretty good stuff there. All right, apparently God Slain just showed up on my monitor too. Huh. My Girlfriend Gives Me Goosebumps, chapter 19.5. Oh, look, another extra chapter. So yeah, this is going to be the kind of pattern here. It's just a cute little follow-up to the last chapter where we, see our boyfriend totally cheating on his girlfriend with, Ringo of all people. And this chapter is basically about, oh, look, her friends caught her, and oh, she's getting accused of, trying to steal a boyfriend, and, the boyfriend isn't really helping. So not much to say, just hilarity. Cute little interlude. This might be difficult going forward. At some point, the magazine's going to go on break. I'm going to go on break at that same time, so that when the magazine resumes, we might be getting the normal chapter reviews again, but for the most part, we're just going to be covering on rush days. So, again, not much to say. Still funny, though. Kill Blue, Chapter 23. Oh dear God, she's underaged. Well, this is the wrap-up to the main story here. Of course, we get Norin falling in love with Ogami from the last chapter, and immediately knocked the hell out because not gonna take that anywhere. So this then leads to the brothers meeting up. Well, one of them meets up with them and pleads for his life, where Ogami's like, I'm not gonna kill you. Meanwhile, Tenma's like, wait a minute, you guys are assassins, like actual assassins. So Ogami's like, oh God, we gotta hypnotize him. Bro, hypnotize him. So the brother tries to hypnotize him, and it fails because I guess Tenma is just too stupid to be hypnotized. Like a bro. But at the same time, like a bro, while knowing Ogami's secret, Tenma's like, I'm not going to tell anybody. Who cares? Go to school. It's fine. I don't care. This is weird, but I can live with that. Can you? So, getting that W, Ogami is able to, keep going to school, even though, somebody knows that he's actually a hitman. Not that he's an old man, but that he's a hitman. So, could be worse. Well, actually, it can be worse. And it is. So, while the Hitman brothers are able to get away scot-free, they also are intending to go to the school still. Hang out there and be students. Probably, maybe doing this again. Not really sure. However, before they can de-hypnotize Norin, the police show up. And they all have to scatter because it would take too long to wake her up and de-hypnotize her. Meaning that now, going to school, Norin is in love with Ogami. And Ogami, being a responsible adult, doesn't really like that. But he still wants to go to school. So now he's going to avoid her. The smartest decision he makes. Great chapter. Just phenomenal. I love Kill Blue. It's really getting into its own, and the action's great, and the comedy's hilarious. There are jokes I'm not covering in this because I want you to experience them organically. But the main thrust of just his reason for being upset with this is insane. He has a daughter who is the exact same age as Norin. So he sees Norin as a daughter. He does not see her as a love interest or a foreign body. He sees her as a friend/daughter. So him being a reasonable adult, he looks at the daughter confessing a lust and love for him as something squicky, which is right. Porn is wrong. It is not cool when this kind of stuff happens. Having a young female who is underage fall in love with you is disgusting. That is good. Please show that more often. It is not cool when this happens in fiction, and it's taken seriously. This is a joke, and it's being used as fodder for jokes. And of course, our boy has the proper mindset. This isn't right. She needs to go be dehypnotized as soon as possible, and I don't want to be near her. So, again, hitting on all cylinders. This is definitely aping a little bit from Sakamoto days with the whole Hitman thing, but it is clearly doing its own storylines and story arcs with a lot more, high school or / middle school friendly material. So, good stuff. Looking forward to Chapter 24. Cypher Academy, Chapter 42. Can you tell by my tone of voice how checked out I am? Alright, so just kind of going over the basics. Virtual assistant girl shows up to exposition us to death. Game is shown, has a lame ending. Guy goes down further into dungeon bank thing and goes to the bomb shelter. Cool, whatever. There really isn't much to say. There were bits to this to explain like what's happening, why it's like a race to the bottom, because like there's levels to this place. It's a dungeon to gamify the lock, which is in itself a stupid idea. You're trying to keep these funds out of people's hands, but you're intentionally making a way for people to get into it in a fun and unique way, which doesn't make any sense. If you're going to try to keep things hidden and keep things safe, you don't make it easy for people. You don't give them an in. You make sure that you can stay out. we have the virtual assistant being a anime girl, and they kind of laugh it off, going, "Oh, if it was a guy, it would just be mansplaining it to you." It's like, I mean, it could also be like a cube. It could be a small dog. It could be a painting. It could be a water faucet. It didn't need to be a cute anime girl with dumb heart eyes. It's just that way because the artist, or really the writer, wanted to be that way to give yet another female character to the main character and show how much like girls like him or some shit. And we get like a really stupid puzzle. The most noteworthy thing is the whole puzzle ends up being a cryptogram of the word roguelike hidden inside of a QR code. And I'm just going to say this out loud. Well, yeah, this is just the English, but they spelled roguelike wrong. There should be a hyphen. Mostly because, again, if you know anything about games, roguelike is a really shit term for randomly generated levels. The concept of a randomly generated environment that, produces different experiences using the same template. What Rogue was originally. Yeah, Rogue is a game. So when you're saying a game is a randomly generated experience, you're saying it's like Rogue. In other words, it's Rogue-like. So you put a hyphen there. However, for some dumb reason, people take out the hyphen and just put roguelike and say like, oh, look, it's roguelike. They don't quote Rogue. They don't, they don't hyphenate Rogue properly. They don't give it the proper parlance because they forget Rogue was a game. It is a game. History is important. It is a title for something. Treat it like a title. Treat it like it's supposed to be spelled, god damn it. Alright, rant over. Shit chapter. Don't care. Whatever. The Ichinose Family's Deadly Sins, Chapter 43. This one hurt. So, we're back in the dream home, and Soda and Tsubasa are trying to figure out how to get out. Suddenly, Mom shows up. Now, this is Dream Mom. She's fully engaged in the memory erasure and doesn't remember whatever happened. Soda sort of breaks down at this point. Now, at the beginning, we kind of get the introduction of Soda's character in the story as this kind of mysterious no name. And we then reveal that he's actually, the brother. And why he left was because they broke his camera, destroyed his one dream. And in this chapter, we finally discover what that really meant. And it's because Soda was the garbage dump. Whenever his family had something to say, be it good, bad, frustrating complaints, wanting to talk about something they like, he would listen. He would be the ears for them to speak into. But when he needed to say something, when he had a concern, when he had a love or dream, he had something to contribute, they would shut him down. They would not listen. They would ignore him. And finally, his camera broke. And they made excuses. They gave him all kinds of garbage, but they would not give him the time of day. They would not give him the chance to speak. They would only allow themselves to speak over him. Never listening to him, treating him like garbage. That's why he ran out. And with this, Dream Mom comes in and finally, after seemingly years, offers an ear. Gives him a chance to talk. Treats him like he wanted to be treated in the first place. Like her son. Now, the chapter ends with the haunting note of, is it really bad that we're here? Should we really leave? Should we break this up? We're getting something we want out of this. Clearly. This one hurts on a lot of different levels. Now, being a person myself, I oftentimes am, forced to listen over speaking. I'm not good at speaking. You can kind of tell with these videos here. I stutter a lot. I stammer. I can't get my words out properly. So having conversations, you have impatient people. They'll speak over you. They'll talk over you. They'll correct your grammar. They'll give you every kind of excuse to not let you finish your sentences or allow you to get a thought out. So this hurt on a personal level because I've been here. Maybe not with direct family. I've had friends. I've had some family do this to me. And, being the nice guy in some cases does hurt because, you'll get people like this taking advantage of you. And this does offer Soda something else to it. He is getting what he wants, but what he wants is really to get out of here, deal with it, and move on, rather than getting something permanent out of this. So again, chilling chapter, well written. Good God, this got me to think and feel about things I haven't thought about in years. So good on this. Ichinose Deadly Sins, top tier. Akane Banashi, Chapter 80. Choo choo, time to get aboard the color-covered train. Anyway, chapter's about a new character, Chocho. Yeah, I said the name wrong for the joke. Anyway, we see him coming out of a suitcase to get into the venue for the performance. Seems like an odd character, blonde, spiky hair, gets, sharp teeth. But he seems to be attracting everybody around him. Everyone wants to be around him, much like Urara from the other master here. So Akane is getting a broader perspective of her dad's generation of Rakugoka. And this guy is a unique one. So Akane tries to get his information, trying to get help for her own situation. And he's like, I'm not actually going to give it to you. You got to win it from me. So he challenges to a little bet of dice here. Unfortunately, before the game can actually start, he actually has to go on stage. So he's like, darn. So he goes up there and immediately is met with a roaring crowd. Mind you, at the beginning of the chapter, Akane goes like, this crowd seems kind of gloomy after the first half, coming into the second half. But as soon as he walks on stage, everyone cheers, like just goes wild for him. And he's like hyping up the crowd, hell yeah and all that. The thing is, when I wrote my notes here, I write notes for all my things, clearly. So I was writing notes and I just wrote down star power, just looking at that. And then immediately, like 2 pages later, they say he has star power. I'm like, I felt vindicated. Just absolutely vindicated for writing that, because like that is exactly what that panel showed. And being told, yeah, no, it's star power. Yeah, no, really, it was clearly star power. This dude is like a rock star, a Rakugo star, if you will. Ha 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 ha. Joke writes itself. But of course, then the chapter really ends with the Master Hosho pointing out to Akane that, you remind me a lot of him. Meaning that, we kind of see a possible future for Akane in Chocho. She will also be a rock and roll Rakugo-ka. That's phenomenal and awesome. I like that. That's fun. I mean, the dude's just an intense, personality just throughout the entire chapter. And I mean, the reason he even, came out of the suitcase in the first place was he just can't go into the venue without being swarmed. They recognize him. People want to walk up to him and say hi. Like, oh, dude, it's Chocho. I got to hang out with Chocho. I got to get a picture with Chocho. Like, nah, he has to be, smuggled into the facility just so he doesn't get crowded. It's insane. I love it. 5 stars. Chapter 80, good one. You earned getting to this number, man. Blue Box, Chapter 119. On Valentine's Day, Manager Chaco doesn't count. So, we got the Valentine's Day episode. Not really a whole lot of Taiki this time, though we do get him having a bit of an interview post his win, getting into nationals with him and Haru. Haru, being the cocky son of a bitch that he is, and Taiki not taking shit, going, I'm not going to lose. I love it. Taiki knowing he's going to take him on and not taking any of Haru's shit. Beautiful interaction, though not a lot of them this chapter, because honestly the real star was Ayame trying her best to try to be honest with her crush, because yeah, she is totally into Kyo, just totally into him, just made that chocolate, was wanting to give it to him, and right before she does, she panics. And of course, doesn't help that Hina walks in and makes it look like she's close to Hyo in a romantic way, possibly being the actual one he wants. So she backs off and decides to give her chocolates to Matsuoka. Matsuoka, that shit. Turns out he's actually not that bad of a guy. he apparently, way back when he was a kid, was offered chocolates by his best friend's crush. And he turned her down because he wanted to be a bro. Like, it's my friend. Like, I want to, be cool to my friend, not, make him feel bad. Which, unfortunately, translated into other girls thinking that, he is a bad person because he, denied a girl who liked him chocolate. Or denied getting given chocolate by the girl he liked. Either way, Matsuoka's kind of thought that he's fake and terrible, so Ayame, pitying him, gives him the chocolate she made for Kyo, which unfortunately Kyo sees, and then goes, "Oh, I'm almost misunderstood. She's not actually that into me," which is frustrating in the best way possible. The chapter, of course, ends with Taiki getting chocolates from Chinatsu, who he panics earlier because he sees Matsuoka with the same wrapping of chocolate and thinking, "Oh God, my girlfriend gave my rival chocolate," and Chinatsu's like, "Dude, you're my boyfriend. I'm into you," ending the chapter in a very cute way. I mean, I am into this drama with Ayame. Yeah, the series is not just about Taiki. I'm glad to see Taiki still having a presence, and I love the fact that Taiki is not taking anything of Haru's at all seriously. But the greatness of Ayame, like, and her little story is going to be phenomenal to read because her entire bit is going to be honest. She needs to be honest with Kyo about her relationship, be honest with him, but that's going to be a fight for her. And this sort of weird Hina love triangle is going to be fascinating, especially like the big reveal, like, she's not really that into him, and neither is he to her. So, again, I'm into it. I love this drama. This is turning out to be some real fun stuff coming up. Witch Watch, Chapter 127. What we need are more Borbs. So the Ron fight continues, and we get, of course, Ron cornering Morihito, revealing his true wish of this entire event. He wants to die. But the only way for him to die would be to pass on his curse of immortality to somebody else. And what we reveal is the new villain, who we just got a shadow reveal of here, promised Ron a piece of his mother. Because one of the things that the immortals can do is resurrect the dead. Now, normally, normal people just go back to being dead after being alive for a little bit. But the ever-living, like Ron's mother, continue living on afterwards. Meaning, what he's going to plan to do is basically resurrect his mother, passing the curse back onto her, allowing him to die. And, of course, Morihito immediately cuts into this going, so you just want to see your mom again. I get that. And, of course, Ron, being a tsundere, goes, "No, I don't want to do that, Baka. I just want to die. I'm 160 years old. I can't be a mama's boy." But, of course, clearly that's the case. Anyway, meanwhile, this is kind of sandwiched inside the plot by the rest of the group to, get back to Twilight and get it to Morihito. The problem is they can't do the plan they were going to do originally, which is, throw it at him from a distance, because he dodged it. They can't, just get one of the crows to pick it up and drop it on top of him. So what can they do? Warp it into Morihito's hands, just as he's about to strike the Ran. But that's easier said than done. However, what else plan do we have? We need to beat Ron, and there's nothing else to do but try it. So it's time to go for broke next time. Fun stuff. Loved it. Can't say much more. Straightforward. Sakamoto Days, Chapter 137. This roller coaster is crazy. So this chapter focuses mostly on Kamehate's beef with Sakamoto and his fight with Heisuke. The beef is pretty simple, revealed through a flashback mind read that Sakamoto stole a kill. But not just any kill, the important kill. So Kamehate was targeting a evil painter, a killer painter who used, blood to make pigment, that kind of crazy. So when he was lining up the shot, he sees Sakamoto in the same building with the killer. Still takes the shot, guy dies, cool. Years later, after all the, acclaim, he goes and sees the art exhibition where they have the final painting on display and finds out there's blood splatter on the painting. Now, the thing is, shot trajectory would have been through the painting, not at the painting, meaning that the shot came from inside the house, meaning Sakamoto got the kill. So, Kamehate, wanting to stop Sakamoto from seeing this, revealing Kamehate to be a scam artist, stopping him from getting to the exhibit. Cool. Lame reason, but cool. The real reason he's also doing this is because he wants to prove that he doesn't need anybody. He's a sniper. He doesn't need any friends. He doesn't need any allies. He's alone in his little cubbyhole, taking pot shots and getting kills. He doesn't need anybody's assistance to do any of his work. This, unfortunately, leads him to get cocky. And that's where Heisuke comes in. Because Heisuke, can trust people. He trusts his bird companion, he trusts Sakamoto, he trusts Shin, and he also trusts Kamehate to be consistent. So once Kamehate hits his lens, Heisuke fires, and using the same line trajectory, hits Kamehate's own lens, ending the duel. Or at least stopping it for the moment. Fun chapter, amazing bit, but the best part of this chapter is the humor. Because this world is insane. They are just so used to assassins that they have magazines that, explain who the most influential assassins are, for one thing, have art exhibitions of great assassin works as another, but even further is just the presence of mind of every individual on this world is insane. We see the latter extreme is Heisuke. He's getting shot at. He's getting hit by sniper rounds. Loud bangs are coming out. He has holding a gun, and there are bystanders going, "Oh man, you look hurt. Do you need some water or something?" Just completely ignoring the fact that he's wearing body armor, carrying a rifle. My God. But the step beyond that is just Kamehate himself. During this entire chapter, all we see Kamehate is his rifle. We see him shooting Heisuke. But the thing is, this thing is also in the flashbacks. Every scene we see Kamehate in is just his gun. Is just the sniper rifle barrel pointing at things. Pointing at his opponents, pointing at the targets, pointing at windows, pointing at computer screens, pointing at the painting. In every shot of Kamehate's backstory is just his rifle. Meaning, in reality, yeah, he's still a dude. He's not just a gun. There's no way he's just a gun. Though that would be hilarious in and of itself. But he is always holding his gun. Everywhere he goes, he's looking at his computer screen. He's pointing his rifle at it. He's looking at a news article. He's pointing his rifle at it. He's looking at the painting. He's bringing his gun to the exhibition. He's going up to the exhibition. He's pointing his gun straight at the painting. And no one bats an eye. No one cares. I love this series. Where can you get face reveals this ridiculous? Only at Sakamoto Days. Undead Unluck, Chapter 177, a well-deserved color cover. So the chapter begins with plague coming down, the hospital's infested, and Layla is dying, so Rip needs to do surgery immediately. Unfortunately, Sick is here, and he's in his new second phase, which is not good for the rest of us. Of course, Fuko decides to stay behind and battle out with Sick while Rip goes and does the surgery because he needs to do it so he can get unrepair. Now, just as the surgery is beginning, he gets a little flashback showing that, God kind of sucks for making disease in the first place, doing it out of jealousy because he's spiteful. The gods are petty, sort of obvious. But of course, just as he's about to puncture the knife through her flesh, unrepair clicks in. But he stops moving, because out of all things, Chikara and Sean were in the room the entire time. Chikara using Unmove to stop him, and of course, Sean there to do unsee so that they don't know they're there. This then leads into the end of the chapter where we see Sick battling Fuko, but losing because everybody else from the Union comes in to back her up. Being a big dumb heroes moment at the very end of the chapter, gearing up for the next one where, of course, Rip's going to come in and do what he does best. This was a great chapter, especially considering it's a celebration of we're getting an anime. We've got an anime. It's coming out this month. It is big hype for this series and well deserved. Undead Unluck has existed for about 3 years now, and it's clearly on its sort of last arc here. We're getting the big number of the master rules, the 10 master rules, and we're getting the first one Sick here, and we're gearing up for the final battle with Sun and Moon later. But still, phenomenal chapter. We're getting a lot of new reveals as well, like Creed's new design. We're getting Void getting back his old armor from the previous loop. We're seeing Nico on his spheres again, but with his wife this time as opposed to Sanser being alive. So it's just great. I'm really stoked to see how this goes and see where else this comes in. And again, hopefully we see the return of our boy Andy soon. Maybe not this arc. Maybe the next one. Doesn't have to be anytime soon. I think Fuko's got it for right now. My Hero Academia, Chapter 402. The finale is incoming. So, we're back to present. We've gotten Dobby being down, the explosion being waylaid. Toga is down, meaning the Twices are, disappearing, meaning that the floating school is starting to maintain its altitude again. The fight is ramping up, though, with Shigaraki and Deku, not helped by All for One coming back into the fray. And now he's within gloop warp distance. So he's trying to warp away Shigaraki so they can complete him and make the second coming of the Demon Lord. However, apparently, he didn't know that Shigaraki had killed that little bit of All for One inside him and stopped the warp from happening. So, being the evil villain that he is, he sees the downed All Might and decides, I'm going to use you as a hostage to distract Deku in order for Shigaraki to either kill Deku or, me kill All Might, so win-win either way. Problem is, this was both a good and bad decision. Good because it did distract Deku, bad because he forgot something. Way back when he killed his rival Shimura, when she went down, he was cryptically told that you should be worried about Toshinori, because he's more unhinged than you are. And that bites him, as apparently All Might basically goes, grabs him, gets him in a big hold, and says, well, maybe this death will finally get you down to teeny tiny size. And then a flash happens, the chapter ends. This may be the death of All Might. I mean, it probably is. This is the perfect blaze of glory he's going to be going out in. Literally, the prediction is he dies horribly to a villain. This is pretty much dying horribly. Being caught in an explosion sucks. And, of course, this gives us the great moment of Deku screaming as he sees the vestige of All Might disappear in his mind, finally going away and probably going to be replaced with the real vestige of All Might that'll live on in his head later on. Still, this was intense. It's a beautiful chapter. It's shorter, it's what the current Horikoshi can pull out, which is fine. I'm not complaining. Let him finish the story, but still, wonderful moment here. We're gonna see, finally Deku versus Shigaraki come to some kind of conclusion. We're gonna get a few chapters of that probably, and then the final wrap up. Looking forward to seeing this end, in a positive way. This has been a fun ride, and this last arc has been insanely detailed and incredibly written. So, good on you, Horikoshi. And that's going to do it for this week. Not a lot of chapters this week, though. Still, big things happened. Yeah, it's a bit of a middle week. Not the greatest chapters from the new guys. Some middling chapters in the middle. Cypher Academy. But hey, some bangers and other ones. Emotional stuff here. Good overall. Looking forward to next week because, of course, One Piece comes back next week. Hallelujah. But hey, as you do. So like, favorite, comment, subscribe. Hope you enjoy Spooky Month as it begins. Bye!